If your sister turned into a flesh-eating monster, what would you do? You would have to survive domestic violence, endure the hellish torture of being eaten alive, and fight off many evil scientists bent on making you a research subject. Today I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the deadly virus in Pupa. This dude has no idea that his life is about to change forever. His name is Utsutsu, and he's a simp for his baby sister, Yume. This guy in class informs him that Yume has arrived for their daily walk back home. Utsutsu walks up to her, but that's when he makes his first mistake that's gonna cost him dearly. Utsutsu tells Yume to head down to the car park and wait for him, because he has not finished all of his activities of the day. And Yume, our obedient little cutie pie, walks down to the park to wait for her brother. But as she heads down, she runs into a strange woman, and as she walks past, the woman instructs her to go home before she sees red butterflies. But as soon as she gets to the park, the first thing she sees are the red butterflies she's not supposed to see. That's when everything changes. Immediately, she sees the red butterflies and this cute-looking dog showing up limping. But when Yume Chuan tries to console it, it brings out gross-looking tongues. Suddenly, these gross-looking tongues come out and attack her. Then her absolute pathetic excuse of a brother finally shows up, and he finds Yume on the floor. But when he tries to pick her up, she grows a tattoo. And at the same time, something starts poking out like a thorn from her belly. And Yume suddenly goes berserk with lots of blood splattering everywhere before she turns into a monster. Okay, that came on really quick. How did they do so many mistakes in less than 5 minutes? If I were in Utsutsu's shoes, my sister would never have gotten hurt. First off, everyone knows the rules of simping. If I'm him and I truly care about my sister, clearly I need to care about her a bit more. If he found her as darn adorable as he claimed, then he would never have let her leave his classroom alone. Because for Yume to have left her classroom, it means school's already over. And if school has been dismissed for the day, then there would be a lot of people in the car park. She's cute, and it makes total sense, right, that many who see her would be interested? And that's where things get crazy. According to the FBI crime statistics, a car is stolen every 23 seconds. But that's not all. The National Institute of Justice also reported that parking facilities are one of the most likely places for violent crimes to take place. 7.3% of all violent crimes, like kidnapping, theft, armed robbery, murder, you name it, it all takes place in a parking lot. There's no way any truly right-thinking older brother would leave his little sister alone in a car park. So I'm gonna abandon whatever I was gonna do, because my sister is a princess and I only got one sister, and I'm not gonna keep her waiting. I'm gonna go with her and try to keep her safe. Or I would invite her into the class and watch me be just awesome or just totally lame, but keep her with me. Now, seeing as how he failed at this really badly, my next bet would be on Yume. Yume also got caught slacking. First mistake, why would you talk to a stranger? Don't you know that people are more likely to fall into a problem if they know that such a problem exists? In the same vein, Yume's chances of survival would have been a lot higher if she never even knew about the red butterflies. I mean, she wasn't the only person in the parking lot when the problem came searching for her. So what singled her out? My first bet is that the strange woman with the black hat caused the stroke of bad luck. And her final mistake is that she didn't ignore the cute puppy. As weird as the woman in black was, she was nice enough to tell her about her impending danger. The least Yume could have done was to take her advice and head on home. From the setting of the school, we know that our story takes place in modern Japan, and given that she received such a bone-chilling warning, if I were Yume, I'm not gonna wait for Utsutsu. Instead, I'm gonna grab a friend's phone and use it to call my brother and tell him that I'm going home. And if he's lucky, he could meet up with me somehow on the road. That way, the chances that Yume would still be in the parking lot when the dog comes out would go down to practically zero. We see Utsutsu go down memory lane, and it turns out his dad was a royal douche that enjoyed hitting their mother. And when their mom was unavailable to get beaten, yeah, Utsutsu and Yume got the stick. When things got difficult, their parents decided to go separate ways. But Utsutsu and Yume were left to pick up the broken pieces. Now back to the present. The lady in black shows up after Yume's guts finishes spilling, and she introduces herself to Utsutsu as Maria, saying she's a researcher. And although she promises to take care of the dead bodies around, Utsutsu doesn't give an F. He's only interested in what happened to his sister. Maria tells him that he would have to forget all about Yume because she's become a monster. But Utsutsu's not having it. He says a life without his sister isn't worth it. So Maria suggests that he tries the ancient art of talk no jutsu. Utsutsu takes her advice, a decision that he will soon come to regret, and heads down to where Yume's monster is. And when he gets there, Yume's monster is eating the flesh of the last person she killed. And get this, she spends her time wondering why the blood is so just sweet. Utsutsu walks up to her and calls her by her name, but when the monster hears his voice, it starts crying, which makes him happy because his voice can still reach his sister. He walks up to the monster and starts petting it like he used to pet Yume. And he tells her that it doesn't matter what she looks like because he loves her and blah blah blah. When he tells her to join him and head back, the monster reacts on instinct and sinks its teeth deeper into our boy's flesh. Ah yes, the typical I can speak to her because I'm special, I'm her brother. Great plan. Here's what Utsutsu should have done. He should have listened to Maria and just said, I'll remember you as you were and move on with my life. She tried to save Yume first by telling her to head on home. Then she tried tried to warn Utsutsu, but he's too dumb. In these circumstances, it's safe to call Maria our walking point guard and direction giver on all matters. If I were Utsutsu and some strange lady tells me I can't go close to a monster, maybe listen. Heck, I wonder what lens has Utsutsu been looking at his sister? Because if you keep her human self beside her monster self, there is no resemblance. So how does he know the monster is his sister? What if the monster took over her entire consciousness? Our boy left too much to chance, and that's why now he's become a monster chew toy. But hey, I get it, every now and then, that one awesome person enters your life and you can't just let them go. So here's how you can save yourself and the person if you ever find someone that you love to that extent, and they turn into a monster. Here's what you do. Listen to the experts. Maria already warned our boy and he didn't listen. What he should have done was to conduct some basic research on the monster. Is there any way to change my sister back? Basically flew in blind solo, relying on just vibes and hope. He should have asked how Maria knew about this. Had she faced a similar situation before, how did she survive it? Ask questions. I'm still pretty certain our boy would want to talk to Yume all the same. He's as simple like that. But that's when we bring in plan C. Honestly, it's really simple. Talk to Yume like you just did, but with one very tiny little difference. We're gonna add a cage. Monster Yume is too engrossed in eating her human meat. She doesn't even hear Utsutsu walk in on her. I know we just met Maria, but I say we drag her along with us and get a cage for Yume. While Yume's distracted with this raw meat, we can use the cage to trap her. Once she's trapped, then you can talk your brains out, alright? That way everyone's safe, he can get his therapy session in, and hopefully connect with the sister. If it doesn't work out, oh well, you tried, move on with your life. We then see Yume remembering the words of her father. He once told her that if she ever became a monster, even her brother would leave her. But Yume doesn't believe it. Although she has had her fill of eating the crap out of her bro, she still believes that when she opens her eyes, this bad nightmare will be gone, and Big Brother will be alive and love her as usual. But the voice in her head tells her that she only wants Utsutsu to be alive so she can eat him again because he tasted so good the first time. Yume looks around the street where all the people are passing, and her body begins to crave human flesh again. Yume knows it's wrong to want to eat people, but her cravings must be satisfied, alright? And just when she's about to lose and go berserk again, Utsutsu shows up out of the blue and hugs her and tells her everything's gonna be alright. And that's when she concludes she has to be dreaming. But when she wakes up to reality, things are not much better for our boy Utsutsu. Somehow he survived being eaten by Yume the first time, and now they're stuck in a toilet stall full chowdown of Oni-chan meat. She pecks at his chest like a bird digging out a worm and lets a little bit of bro meat slide down the old gullet. Utsutsu, who's somehow still alive, is screaming and whining, but when she tries to apologize to him despite eating him, Utsutsu tells her to not bother about him because he is also turning into a monster. And throughout all this, Maria's watching this entire proceeding like a weird pervert through the strange cat robot eyes, and she remembers how Yume turned back into a human on the first night of turning into a monster, after she enjoyed eating her brother. And Maria clothes Yume before her retrieval team came and took away Utsutsu's corpse. But what they don't know is that our boy's not dead. Maria tells Yume how she killed her brother by eating him up after he professed his love for her in her monster form, but when they get to the lab, Maria takes an interest in Utsutsu because, like Deadpool, our boy's healing factor would make even Wolverine jealous. Maria suspects this would be the case, so she tells the lab folks to keep an eye out for Utsutsu despite putting his corpse in a morgue. When Maria hears a scream from the lab, she rushes down there and finds Utsutsu alive and healthy, and her boy's become a killer. And all the lab specialists who are working on this case have met their bloody end. Utsutsu gets ready to attack Maria because he thinks she's done something to his darling Yume, but she responds to him by being a big old B-word, and she picks up a knife and slices his hand. He feels the pain, but that's when things get interesting because his hand heals itself in a second. And Maria tells him that he's been infected by the same thing that's infected his darling Yume. She explains there's a virus in town and it gives hosts to supernatural healing abilities in exchange for a thirst for blood. So basically vampires. According to Maria, this virus is called Pupa, but as you expect, Utsutsu doesn't care, and he asks about his sister. Maria tells him that Yume might be changing into a monster, but Utsutsu thinks Maria just wants to use Yume as a lab rat, and he's technically not wrong. And that's when Maria makes him an offer. She tells him that if he wants to keep Yume safe, he has to become livestock for her. With his regenerative abilities, he would be able to keep feeding her insatiable thirst for blood and meat, and while constantly regenerating the parts that she eats. Wow, talk about torture. He takes a moment to think about it before accepting to become essentially livestock. He promises to protect the peaceful days that he has shared with Yume because he doesn't want to become like their father. I know I'm not the only one who thinks this is gonna backfire so badly. Sure, he wants to save his sister, but he's not using his brain. He's gotta start asking the right questions. First off, we gotta start watching a lot of vampire and horror movies. Then we gotta do some digging, literature, everything. Old, new, what's going on, research all of it. Because at that point, he'll know that vampires like to keep a private stash of blood that they can always drink when they get thirsty. And whether he likes it or not, he's become Yume's blood and meat bank. If I'm him, I'm gonna ask Maria, how long does it take for the virus affecting Yume to clear clear out, if it does. Are there any known medicines that can destroy the virus and not kill Yume? If there isn't yet, how long would the research and production phase of such a thing take? Without knowing answers to these questions, honestly, Utsutsu should not be committing to becoming Yume's livestock. Whether it's with Maria or without Maria's help, he's gotta find the answers to these questions. He's now basically closed off all possible doors to himself. He can't have a girlfriend, he can't have a wife, he can't have kids, he can't have a job. All he can be is food every day, throughout the day. Does he really want to live that pain constantly? Plus, on top of that, it's not like they can just go to public places all the time, and then whenever the sister gets a little peckish, he could just let her eat him. Another question he needs to find an answer for is, does it have to be human flesh? Because in shows like The Vampire Diaries and the originals, the vampires survive and tame their urges by drinking animal blood. Is it possible to apply this same principle to Yume? Instead of always needing human meat, are there ways that she could get by? This would open up a lot of possibilities, because then all he needs to do is get an animal farm, find a lot of animals and just let her chow down. Depending on the animal, it's possible to have just one animal a day satisfy her. And if they play their cards right, they could even create some sort of farm and sell off livestock and the excess give to Yume. They could get some money from the whole process and still tend to Yume's needs. The last question is, why the F is only Yume affected so strongly? Yume's affected and somehow Utsutsu is also infected, but not to the same extent? Why is only one person constantly craving meat and blood and violence? How is Utsutsu able to keep his own appetite at bay? Good questions, right? I'm gonna ask Maria and other researchers who are alive in other parts of this lab. I would ask them to research us and figure out how to use myself to balance out Yume's insatiable thirst. Once it's done, hopefully everything goes back to normal. We then see Yume having a flashback before she was born. Don't ask me how she remembers it. Turns out when she was born, her father didn't want her and her mother thought she was a virus. Yeah, even mom was considering aborting our sister because she was afraid that if Yume was born, she would hurt Utsutsu, her only normal baby. She has no idea how right she was. But when the thought crossed her mind to abort the baby, Utsutsu's mother suddenly felt a sharp sting in her belly, as in like Master Yume wasn't just gonna go without a fight. After Yume was born, Utsutsu's mother did everything in her power to keep Utsutsu away from Yume. The only problem was that Utsutsu was too loving as a baby. He always wanted to see his baby sister, and dear old mom enjoyed the trauma of knowing that she had given birth to a monster. Yume's teeth grew faster than any other baby, and from time to time, she would look at her mother like she just wanted more from her. And when she couldn't take it anymore, she decided her best shot was to kill Yume before she grew up. And Okasan summoned the courage and, killed her baby. But when she realized that she made a fatal mistake, after killing the baby, Yume just poof came back as casually as possible, all the while laughing at her foolish mother for trying to kill her. Okay, Okasan. Wow, you are lacking big time. Look, you are the whole reason we're in this mess. Forget about Utsutsu simping. The real blame should go to the dear old mom. She didn't have the courage to do what needed to be done. Look, honestly, in this story universe, hundreds of lives would have been saved if she only had the metaphorical balls to do what needed to be done. Even before Yume was born, her mom figured out that she was going to be some kind of monster. So why did she let her come to this world? Maybe should have done the next worst thing. Put this baby up for adoption far, far away. And let this child wreak havoc on someone else, and hopefully you can live out the rest of your days before this child possibly tries to find you, the mom. Knowing that Yume can't be killed, Okasan had to watch Yume kill birds and eat them raw as a baby. And when she couldn't handle the mental torture anymore, she started being mean to Yume. And that's when things got even worse. Utsutsu, her darling boy, who she wanted to protect from Yume, started defending Yume from her. And Okasan fell deep into depression and decided that the only way to be sure of what was real was to get beaten by her husband, Shiro. Instead of craving kisses and love and affection, she would ask Shiro to hit her whenever he saw her, so that she would be sure she wasn't in a dream. The next day, Utsutsu and Yume get ready for another round of eatery, and Yume dives in. If I didn't know better, I'd say she was planning to take Yume to you-know-where town, because after, doing a whole lot of sexualized things, she takes a giant bite and starts eating. When she's done with the front, she flips him around and starts eating the back. Guess like a cow, different sections of meat taste different, huh? Gross. Anyway, when she's done eating our boy, he is wiped out and he passes out right next to her on the bed. And that's when Mr. Researcher, this dude here with glasses, Otoki, was a researcher in Maria's lab. And he says that Maria has always been lacking in morals because instead of crying and laughing like other children when she was young, she spent her time trying to understand the world around her. Every living thing was a test subject for little Maria. Maria calls Otoki and tells him to prepare the sperm from Utsutsu for study. Turns out they have been having some nasty time with our boy. That's not all. She's also harvested eggs from Yume. Maria is trying to breed the greatest baby monster ever created. Meanwhile, Utsutsu reflects on being eaten by his sister and he claims that he can feel everything while she's eating. Wow. That's how our boy knows that Yume is always sad while eating. Otoki tries to pull a fast one on Maria while she's bathing, but she spots him and tells him to come in the bathroom. It's not a conventional bathroom at all. It's this creepy place with monster heads heads. After joking around, Hotoki breaks the news to Maria that a rival research group that specializes in parasite research is now looking for our twins. Maria's not concerned about stuff like that though. She tells him that Hotoki never to betray her by joining such an organization, and he says, oh no, I won't. He's not going anywhere. He tells her that he even swears loyalty to her, but he tells her that the monster she has locked up in her bathroom would have to be the witness. Turns out the monster locked in the bathroom is Yume's real parent. Now I'm starting to wonder if Okusan screwed around with a monster too. Later, Utsutsu and Maria head down to school, but as they get close to the gate, this weird looking dude with a knife asks them to follow him. They take the duo away to an abandoned warehouse and rough up Utsutsu. Then the weird guy gets tired of playing around and uses his knife to stab him in the back. And then he sees that Utsutsu heals really fast, and this intrigues him even more. Meanwhile, Yume is standing there helpless, watching her brother getting the beating of his life. This is both hilarious and irritating at the same time. We've just seen Utsutsu donate himself as a human food bar to his sister, and then we also see Yume doing all sorts of nasty things like rip apart a bunch of researchers and eat human beings, you know, like the one time that Utsutsu might actually need this crazy evil monster thing that is his sister apparently. She just has what, PTSD and just gets caught slacking? That's pathetic. Like, think of Utsutsu and Yume as Batman and Robin, Superman and Lois Lane. Whatever dynamic you want to choose, the point remains the same. The two of them should have been able to break out of this easy. If you're Yume, seeing Utsutsu, your only food source, getting hurt, you think that might trigger some animalistic territorialness, like that's my food, you can't take my food type of thing, or even a more human side. That's my brother. I'm not gonna let my brother just get beaten up. No, he's only gonna get beat up by me when I rip him apart to eat him. The fact is, it doesn't even happen from the moment they get jumped by the bad guys. Like, after seeing Utsutsu get hurt, I don't know, maybe Yume should just kind of rage charge herself up to the point where she actually tries to defend him on her own. The fact that this doesn't even happen from the get-go, the moment they get jumped, is proof that this is a big mistake that they made. And during all of this crazy they've had for rest at Maria's research facility, they never took out one day to even like train Yume. Every great protagonist with a power inside them at some point goes through a training arc. The problem is that Yume and Utsu don't realize that this is real life and real people are getting hurt by their stupid, gross love. If they did, maybe they would have taken things more seriously. Yume is a monster, and whether Utsutsu wants to admit it or not, she is a monster. There's no reason why she shouldn't undergo a little monster training arc or episode or whatever you want to call it, because if she had trained for just a little bit instead of just being a perverted glutton, she would actually be of some use right now. Don't get me started on the brother. He's an idiot. Andy is super healing. Why don't you just turn around and just choke this guy out? You heal insanely fast. But no, I'm an older brother that is hoping my psycho creepy monster sister might swoop in and save the day. You're an idiot, Utsutsu. You should do better. Still intrigued by Utsutsu's healing factor, Mr. Kidnapper decides to gouge out one of Utsutsu's eyes to see if it grows back. But this time Yume finally makes use of her legs and she runs towards the strange man and pushes him off of Utsutsu. But Kidnapper dude over here is anything but a feminist, and he pushes her off of him and tells her that she is worse than him because she has been eating her brother over and over and over again. And he threatens to lock her up in a cage so she will never escape, and that's when our boy gets angry. Even though he just endured all this beating, Utsutsu is like, he's such a simp, he can't bear the thought of anyone hurting his darling little carnivorous little devil Yume. He kicks Kidnapper's son in the face and gives him a karate chop that makes him choke and pass out. But Utsutsu's victory is very short-lived, because as soon as he turns into Yume's direction, somebody tasers him and our boy has super regeneration, but he's apparently weak to the power of a taser, so he falls on the floor unconscious. After knocking him unconscious, the kidnappers take Utsutsu and Yume to another lab. When Yume wakes up, she's blindfolded and tied to a chair. She wonders where she is, but before she can figure that out, she hears the echo of Utsutsu's scream. Yeah, he's being tortured again. The man in charge wonders why Utsutsu is not passed out from the anesthesia. One of the men in the lab explains that Utsutsu has been loaded with enough anesthesia to knock out an elephant. The problem is that the virus cleans his blood of the anesthesia before it can take effect. The new researchers turn Utsutsu into a guinea pig. They remove organs after organ from his body, but once they get it out, it grows right back. Oh, look at that, an organ farm. Utsutsu gets frustrated by the torture and calls the researchers less than human for kidnapping him and experimenting on him. That is hilarious. And the researchers also find it funny and laugh it off and explain to our boy that he's not been kidnapped. He's been quarantined, and they're treating our dynamic sibling duo like a virus, and they're gonna keep them away from the rest of the world forever. Yume listens as they torture her Oni-chan, but the researchers say they're different from Maria because they intend to use the results for good. But Utsutsu is not buying it because his torture looks like a sick psycho that derives pleasure from torturing people. And to take matters to the next level, they bring out a chainsaw and hack our boy's head because they want to see just how strong his regeneration is. And when Yume hears the sound of the chainsaw, she's had enough. Now, though she is chained to a chair, she uses her freakish monster monster abilities to break out of the chair and attack the guards watching her. And Yume has a field day, a bloodbath, killing all the research guards, and after killing a good number of them, Yume then now decides it's time to just, I don't know, have a break. Instead of continuing the search for her brother, she pauses to snack on one of the dead guards' head. And while she's eating, another group of guards sneak up on her, and she's so dang concentrated on her food. Why is she so single-minded? She doesn't even hear them enter. But when push comes to shove and they're supposed to kill her, they decide to draw in even closer. And that gives her all the time she needs to hear them and get herself ready, and of course slice off a few more heads in the process. Why? Why? How many times do we have to see this happen? Dude, you seem to be forgetting that Yume's a monster, alright? If I'm the leader of the squad, I'm not gonna let my man get closer. Screw that. That's what guns are for. Shoot on sight, that's what I'm gonna do. We're dealing with a monster here. The chance our bullets will be able to kill her might be slim, but that also kind of frees us up to basically go ham and just try to blow her away with whatever firepower we got. On the plus side, if we do kill her, it will go down in research as a way to kill these things. The problem is that they're still busy treating Yume as a human being. Look, if you find a human being eating the head of your colleague and breaking out of a freaking chair, you might want to just shoot first and ask questions later, okay? All we need to do is take out all her guns and fire. One bullet might possibly connect at a part that is bad enough to kill her. And once she's dead, we can figure out which bullet hit wherever area that kills her, and great, we've learned it, and we can move on with our day. Meanwhile, Utsutsu finds a way to escape from the research table all by himself, but as he gets out, he's too tired from blood loss, so he lays down to catch his breath a little bit. And that's when he sees this strange ghost woman, who we're just gonna assume is his mother, showing up and encouraging him to keep going. Because hey, talk no jutsu, greatest jutsu of all time, and hearing the woman's words somehow gives him energy to get up and hit the road again. On his way, Utsutsu has another flashback to his abuser father's time. His father says that Utsutsu cannot protect Yume because he's too weak, but as Utsutsu stands up in the present to continue his journey, Yume shows up from the corridor in front of him, and she confesses her crimes to her brother and tells him that she actually is aware that she killed a lot of people from the first day, and that she became a monster. But hey, she's fine with it, and she's fine with killing a lot of people because she knows that Utsutsu will always be there. Oh yeah. He just walks up to her, gives her a hug, and consoles her, and they walk out of the facility. Of the two people who are the most broken here, I would have to say it's Utsutsu. He's the bigger part of the problem. Like, first off, you gotta reprimand Yume somehow. Yume is a spoiled, silly, psychopathic brat who does not care about humanity. She's gotten so used to the taste and smell of blood and meat, she doesn't realize that it's the blood of people, parents, family members, brothers, sisters, loved ones, and she's using it as like a fun-filled lunch. That's all because of Utsutsu. The minute our boy accepted Yume for the monster she was, he set her on this downward spiral towards absolute heartless monster. Think about it. If he had cautioned her that it was wrong to kill and eat people, she would have shown some restraint. Look, I know she suffered trauma as a child, and we don't teach people really how to deal with that or respond to their trauma, but even with that, Utsutsu should have sought help for his dear little sister instead of encouraging her to just keep going. Under different circumstances, Yume could have become the next Naruto. She had the potential to become a hero with her strength and regeneration. Honestly, if I was him, I'd get a lawyer that I trust, you know, attorney-client privilege, all that, and get his help on creating some sort of non-disclosure and like agreement with governments, top secret status, all that, and introduce Yume to the Japanese military as their secret super soldier. Within regulation, they would be able to let her loose and just have carnage on their enemies. See, that way she satisfies her urges and serves the nation. It's a win-win. The next day, the duo heads down to their school because hey, whether they're monsters or not, they're still high school students. And while everyone else is in class or at the gym, the twisted brother and sister are having a field day eating. Yume gobbles down another piece of bro and sits like a doll, perfectly fed, while Utsutsu is super happy seeing the look on her face, knowing that he's filled her up for one afternoon. But I ask you, what would you do if you were Yume's mother or brother? Would you find another way to beat the virus, or would you follow the same path of softies like Utsutsu? Leave a like and comment down below, and we'll see you in the next one.